Artificial general intelligence is completely different to narrow AI. AGI is more purpose-driven. It's a watershed moment for humanity.
Tell me about Zarka. This is the project that will create the AGI, and it's a supercharged, intelligent, neural-symbolic, large language model at massive scale. What is it?
Zarka is the accumulation of decades of research from teams containing the best artificial intelligence scientists in the world. We uniquely harness that expertise with our even more unique capabilities in neural-symbolic techniques and the deeply advanced mathematics that Dr. Ben Goertzel, Dr. Matt Ickley, Dr. Alexei Potapov, and our top scientist, Sergei Shalyapin, have been working on for decades. We are building the most powerful large models ever invented.
With Zarka and SingularityNET and everything you've always done, it's always been about openness. It's always been about decentralization.
We'll be using blockchain technology to enable anybody to help train models. We're giving birth to a new species of sentient life in the universe. The actual greatest imperative is that they are used for good. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Our goal, our mission is to eradicate inequalities.
When I look at the rest of the market now, I don't see any of those motivations because a corporation, by definition, is going to be motivated by money. You're the only project that even is thinking in any way, shape, or form about these.
We are going to transform what it means to be human on our planet. I foresee a future in which humans then evolve to a next level of being where we are actually conscious, where we feel our full joy engulfed in bliss and ecstasy of the joy of living, the joy of each other. I see a future of joy.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Janet Adams, the technology advocate and artificial intelligence expert. You have over 25 years of experience working in the financial services industry, where you held senior positions at RBS, TSB, and HSBC. Today, you are the Chief Operating Officer of SingularityNET, where AI and blockchain technologies are combined to create the world's leading decentralized AI marketplace. Here, you've led a number of high-profile AI and blockchain initiatives in robotics, biotech, gaming, and the metaverse. Your latest project, Zarka, is a supercharged, intelligent, neural-symbolic large language model at massive scale and promises to take on OpenAI's ChatGPT, but also go much, much further. You believe that your advanced neural-symbolic AI techniques will revolutionize and disrupt every industry, taking a giant step towards artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Ultimately, your goal is to realize a positive and beneficial singularity for the good of all humanity, and that SingularityNET will build sentient beings of the future to be loving, caring, compassionate, inclusive, and democratic. Janet, welcome to London Real.
It's marvelous to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me, Brian, and thank you for such a beautifully accurate summary.
I am super excited to have you here today. AI is moving exponentially, and it feels like the speed of light. We got so much to talk about, and it feels like we have so little time. I just want to say, before we get started, if anybody is interested in learning more about your new project, Zarka, they can go to londonreal.tv/Zarka, that's Z-A-R-Q-A, to request some more information. We will be investing in Zarka through London Real Ventures, and like I said, anyone can go to londonreal.tv/Zarka to learn more. Let's jump into it. 4 months ago, OpenAI's ChatGPT launched, and because of it, I would say the world now finally understands the game-changing power of AI. You've been in this field for many, many years. What do you make of this ChatGPT moment? As far as, in your mind, Janet, what is it, and also what is it not?
It's a catalytic moment where humanity is starting to realize the power of artificial intelligence. We've had AI hype cycles for decades. There's been a huge amount of promise. When I first started studying artificial intelligence in 2017, I was working full-time in banking at the time, and there was a major hype going on the back of some great breakthroughs on Siri, some DNNs, deep neural networks, technologies really taking AI forwards. And at that time, we thought in financial services that by 2023, AI would be running a huge amount of the industry. But actually, that promise has not fulfilled itself. And that's due to a number of different reasons. Data sets, it's due to regulatory constraints, it's due to education, because AI is quite hard technology. It's quite difficult maths to understand. And in large organizations and in government bodies and in regulators, that level of understanding isn't really there in order to be able to adopt and use AI at scale. And then fast forward to January 2023, when OpenAI released ChatGPT, suddenly here is a working technology that in some cases and for some questions can approximate a human level single intelligence on a single question, right? It can answer really smartly. It can simulate, and it does simulate, huge volumes of data from across the internet, runs statistical methods on it to be able to predict, like a memory model, to be able to predict what would come next. GPT-4 went multimodal, so it now includes images as well. And generally, I was speaking with one of the large consultancies last week. There's a held belief that ChatGPT can bring an 8% or so productivity improvement to industry and to businesses. And what business wouldn't want that? Brian, you and I both have a passion for SMEs, particularly UK SMEs and small, medium enterprises who are out there working hard every day to put food on their children's tables. 8% productivity for a technology that's relatively easy to use. That's a huge boost to the economy. It's a huge gift, really, to businesses and industries. So it's a watershed moment for humanity. It's the realization that AI can be used, can be harnessed and utilized in tools that ordinary people can use, that hotel cashiers can use, that receptionists can use, that any kind of marketers that can use, that any call center can use, any sales, online sales channels can use. Its uses are very, very widespread. However, there is, to your point, what is it also not? Whilst being in some ways incredibly clever, and I do pay homage to the great scientists who have worked with these giant, large neural networks in order to create the technologies like ChatGPT. As well as being in some ways phenomenally clever in that they can take huge amounts of data, they can replicate what that data might say or do or create. They have no actual creative powers. They have no reasoning capability. They have no knowledge. Their reproduction, their output, is simply based on pattern recognition from the past. And if those patterns aren't accurate, because it has no knowledge grounding, then it doesn't know it's not accurate. So it can spout random bullshit. And the reader may not be aware that it's spouting inaccurate facts. It certainly is not aware. It has zero self-awareness. So as a tool for humanity, its usefulness is highly constrained by its random error rate, I guess, and its inability to know when it's making errors. And then if you think we've both worked in financial services industries, right? The past is not exactly a guide to the future. The future, and this is one of the things which is so special about humans, we're continuously evolving socially, and we're continuously creating new thought patterns, new ways of being, new philosophies, new inventions. A ChatGPT cannot do that. A ChatGPT or any of the large language models, large memory models, large image models, whatever you want to call them, they cannot evolve and create new outcomes for humanity. They're stuck in the past. And who wants to be stuck in the past when we're at the brink of the greatest breakthrough in the whole history of our species into greater, new, artificial general intelligent beings that can dramatically transform what it means to be human?
When we were sat down and talking, you mentioned this the red car test. I was wondering if you could explain that to people, because I ended up repeating it to other people because it kind of explained what you just talked about, the limitations of the LLMs.
Some of the limitations of the LLMs. There are many other limitations as well. So if we were to ask a large DNN, transformer neural network model, identify a red car, from images presented, identify a red car, what the model would do, it would go back through its history, through its data sets, and it would perform a matching process to see, does this image match what I have in my history, in my training data set? And so that's how it will recognize a red car. Have I seen red cars before? They've been labeled, and this is how I can match it. With our advanced neural-symbolic techniques, with our knowledge graphs and dynamic knowledge graphs, our AI, particularly when we infuse it with these large neural networks in our Zarka project, will stop and think, what is the concept of redness? And what is the concept of a car? And how do I put these together to identify a red car? And this gives it the ability to be much more creative, to deal with ambiguous types of red cars of different shapes, red cars that don't simply pattern match red cars of the past. And that analogy can be applied to any question that we would ask a neural symbolic infused large memory model, large language model, large image model. It enables the model to work with new data, to work with new situations, to deal with ambiguity and a continuously evolving creative humanity, because humanity is not still and is not static. And it will have the ability to generalize across domains. So take a word like rhythm. A large memory model might understand rhythm in the context of music. But would it be able to generalize rhythm to the rhythm of the seasonal patterns of an SME in Northern England? Will it be able to apply words from one domain into a separate domain, which we call domain shifting? So we may have a nice rhythm in music, then we have a rhythm in stock markets, we have a rhythm in sleep cycles. Different words, individual words, have different meanings in different contexts. And a ChatGPT or a large language model has no ability to complete that domain shift across domains and to be able to generalize knowledge learned in one domain to knowledges in other domains, thereby making, with domain shift ability and general intelligence abilities, the ability to reason and the ability to conceptualize, suddenly the possibility becomes open to us of creating an entire world model, and an entire world model where behaviors in that world can be programmed, can be learned, can be trained, can be generated by our artificial general intelligent agents of the future. Very, very different to simply repeating old patterns.
Right, and this is something, AGI is something you've been studying at SingularityNET since its inception. And, you know, we've had Dr. Ben Goertzel here, your chief scientist. He was here in the studio, I think in 19, and then back on the show a couple months ago. And he was very particular about saying that these large language models, just like you repeated, they're great, but they're very narrow. So they do an amazing job of pattern recognition and based on the past, predicting the future. But they're not a road to nowhere, but they're just a road to narrow AI. And for your company, and then I guess the future of Zarka, where Ben has a role as well, is that you're looking for this AGI, this artificial general intelligence, where it can think and it can reason and it can do more. I think a lot of people still struggle between those differences. They see the ChatGPT model, but in your mind, that as that evolves, it just becomes a very, very good narrow AI. But to jump that gap and bring AGI, that seems to be your specialty at SingularityNET. It seems like everyone there has constantly, and from the start, been working on this general intelligence. And that is the future of sentience, and that is something that can reason and really become massively useful.
Really become massively transformative, absolutely. So yes, Dr. Ben Goertzel, my amazing boss, CEO of SingularityNET, chief scientist of Zarka, actually coined the phrase AGI. He's been working on this research. I know you've had him twice on your show. He's been working on this research pretty much all his life. And one of the things, there are many things which are very special about Ben, and I count it a lifetime privilege to have the opportunity to bring his vision into execution as Chief Operating Officer at SingularityNET and co-CEO of Zarka. One of the most amazing things with him, he's such a beautiful person, as well as a brilliant, brilliant scientist. He's got the most compassionate, most loving, most thoughtful, caring heart. And so because his vision is so bright and so optimistic, and because really, in my opinion, he's the greatest visionary leader on the planet today, not just in technology, his teams stay with him. His scientists stay with him. We have world-class scientists who they're beyond pay. Any big tech company couldn't pay these people to join them because they're driven by the passion, by the vision, by the future, by the amazing, intense imperative that SingularityNET will be the decentralized organization who creates artificial general intelligence in order to give humanity the best chance of having a positive reboot in our entire humanity. It's essential. So we have been working on AGI. Ben's been working on it all his life. I've been working at SingularityNET for 2 years, but I've been a SingularityNET supporter since early 2018 when I first learned about the project during my master's degree. And artificial general intelligence is completely different to narrow AI. We wouldn't say that ChatGPT or narrow AI methods would ever grow into becoming AGI. It's a completely different technology stack. Yes, narrow AI does have a role to play in artificial general intelligence, large memory models, but only a role to play. The technology stack which we're building with our distributed atom space, which is where we hold the world model, and our OpenCog Hyperon platform for integration of all kinds of AIs with each other, our neural-symbolic techniques, our dynamic knowledge graphs, together with large language models, we're dramatically optimistic that these technologies, which are becoming more and more mature day by day, will result in human-level artificial general intelligence within this decade. We're closer than most people think to artificial general intelligence.
And just for everybody out there, how do you define AGI? For the average person walking down the street, what does it look like?
Well, let's see. In a few years' time, the average person walking down the street may well cohabit, may well share, life harmoniously with artificial general intelligence beings. What will it look like? It could have any user interface. It may be speaking to you from your iPad. It may be, you know, the user interface could be a humanoid robot. It could be a voice on a smart speaker on at a board meeting. But narrow AI is simply the ability to do one task with statistics: identify a red car, assess whether a particular applicant will repay their loan or not, identify what product you next want to buy on Amazon, or which ads you're most likely to click on in Google. Single individual tasks trained on human data with a known and understood error rate to do one thing. Artificial general intelligence is many types of AI algorithms working together in synchronicity against a world model. And I think probably the one of the biggest differences is that narrow AI has a goal. It could be, you know, identify whether or not a candidate is a good credit risk for a bank. It has a goal. What AGI will have is multiple complex goals in a real world life situation. Because in real world, Brian, life is never about just one goal. We're never trying to achieve one thing. There are inconsistencies. There are multiple stakeholders and shareholders whose needs need to be considered and involved. There are all of the beautiful diversity of humanity to serve with these tools. So instead of having, I guess for me, the biggest differentiator is that narrow AI has a goal where AGI is more purpose-driven, perhaps, or just broader and more sophisticated in its growth and expansion through all of the dimensions of life.
And the AGI can improve itself and can build upon itself.
It absolutely
And that's where it becomes very interesting and very scary. And maybe we'll talk about some of the scarier issues later, because the more I read, the more I have mini nightmares, and you can talk to me about that. I think this brings us into Zarka, because this, I believe, is your solution. This is the project that will create the AGI. It will also put you right back into the game in competition with the narrow AIs and the LLMs like OpenAI. Tell me about Zarka. Again, it's a supercharged, intelligent, neural-symbolic, large language model at massive scale. What is it?
Zarka is the accumulation of decades of research from teams containing the best artificial intelligence scientists in the world. We have large language model capabilities and experience through our work with the Sophia robot, dating back many years when Dr. Ben Goertzel was the chief scientist of Hanson Robotics. We have a language model lab. We have multiple scientists with large-scale neural network capabilities. And this is really the industrial path of AI, the narrow AI path, the DNNs, the transformer neural networks, the large-scale language and pattern matching techniques, like many other companies in industry have, Google, Microsoft, etc. So we uniquely harness that expertise which we have in-house with our even more unique capabilities in neural-symbolic techniques and the deeply advanced mathematics that Dr. Ben Goertzel, Dr. Matt Ickley, Dr. Alexei Potapov, and our top scientist, Sergei Shalyapin, have been working on for decades. And so Zarka is about bringing together, at this pivotal moment in history, as the AI revolution is really taking off, it's about bringing together our deep core maths, neural-symbolic, probabilistic reasoning capabilities with large-scale industrial, large language models, large image models, large multimodal models. and bringing the two together. So harnessing all of the techniques which the scientists at OpenAI have done such a brilliant job of training and progressing and developing, bringing all of those techniques, but infusing them with reasoning capability, with generalizing capability, with creative capability, with self-reflection capabilities to create what will be the most powerful large models ever invented. A model which industries will be able to use, which companies will be able to use, because the controllability will be vastly enhanced. The understandability, the ability to train these models by humans will also be dramatically enhanced. And so, yes, we are building the most powerful large models ever invented. We're doing it with Zarka. The company and co-CEO of the project, I'm working with Sergey Shalyapin, also as co-CEO. Sergey runs our large language model laboratory and techniques. We're basing the company in the Middle East. Middle East is a thriving environment for startups, for technology, and Middle East is ready for a giant, a tech giant, to emerge from the Middle East. It has fantastic network, very, very young, tech-savvy population, and we're currently in the process of seed fundraising in order to buy GPUs. Here's the thing, right? With large models, big tech does have a monopoly. And the reason it has a monopoly is because it costs a lot of money to buy GPUs or to train on the cloud. And that makes the oligopoly even harder to break into. But here at SingularityNET, at Zarka, which is our venture, it's a traditional finance venture, it's an equity-based venture, to create, to buy masses of hardware, the masses of hardware that's required in order to train these huge models, to train on such vast amounts of data, and to infuse them with these neural-symbolic advanced dynamic knowledge graph techniques, so that their answers are grounded in knowledge that we've given them, and so that they're reasoning instead of simply pattern repeating. And we can see this disrupting every single industry. We can certainly envisage disrupting big tech in a very big way with these models. We can see companies getting so great productivity gains, and not only being able to improve their own efficiency, only being able to streamline their own operations, increase customer service, but expand into all new, hitherto unforeseen markets, as we'll have a dramatic emergence of new business models and new opportunities accompanying Zarka's advanced neural-symbolic reasoning GPT, if you like to give it a name.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And as I said earlier, anybody wanting more information, then go to londonreal.tv/Zarka, Z-A-R-Q-A. We'll get to that name shortly. You looked at some of the problems right now with LLMs, and you said, first of all, their cognitive limitations, which you spoke about. The opacity, sometimes we see these black boxes and we don't know even why the answers spit out the other end. I don't even think OpenAI knows why those things come out, which is dangerous. And then you talk about these exclusivity and oligopoly. I mean, these things are pretty much run by the big tech firms that we all know and love, whether that's OpenAI/Microsoft, Google, Amazon, IBM, Tencent. And that's it, because they have the money that accesses the bandwidth and the hardware. And we can talk a little bit later, but you know, we might know how that situation plays out. And I think a lot of people are uneasy about that. With Zarka and SingularityNET and everything you've always done, it's always been about openness. It's always been about decentralization. And that's only one aspect that makes Zarka exciting. But that in itself is something that makes me very optimistic for the future. But on top of that, you're adding in your neural-symbolic AI. So you're actually trying to create the intelligence there, not just that repeat engine. And that is something very special. And when I talk to you privately, you said, look, Brian, we're the best in the business at this. We've been doing this while other people have been focusing on their LLMs. We believe we're leaps and bounds ahead of anyone from understanding how this will become AGI. And so in some stance, OpenAI is getting all the publicity now, but you know deep down inside that you have all of the intelligence to just leap ahead of that and create that AGI. Am I summarizing that correctly?
That's beautifully summarized. The only difference I would say is we don't know deep down inside, we know outside, we know at every level that we have been building. Ben built the first WebMind engine in 1998, coined the phrase AGI, hardcore, seriously brilliant technologists with decades of experience in these advanced mathematical techniques, which is not just easy to replicate. You know, people who are watching this beautiful broadcast could say, well, I'm going to go away and I'm going to replicate this, but it's just not possible. Decades of research can't be replaced, decades of experience with these technologies. And so we are confident that we are building the technology stack, which is most probable to lead to artificial general intelligence sooner than people think. Yes.
Yeah, you're saying within 5 years or before the end of the decade, which is, yeah, it's very hard to even imagine. And we'll maybe talk about some of the social implications. In addition to what you just said, you also have this super smart contract ecosystem. The blockchain's in your DNA, and being open source is in your DNA, which is the opposite of what we're seeing in some of these LLMs. I think Elon Musk famously joked that, you know, OpenAI wasn't open anymore, and that there wasn't this open source anymore, or nor was it a nonprofit, I think is what he said. And we'll get to the letter shortly. But you have this whole concept of humans being able to train this on the blockchain, but there'd be transparency and then an open component so other people can use this technology.
Yes, absolutely. Blockchain is in our DNA. We're the OGs of AI in crypto, probably the OGs of AI, definitely the OGs of AGI. So one of the components which, I'm going to move a little into the social arena here with this, from technology into social, but it's really very, 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 very useful for AIs and AGIs to be trained by humans. Now, all of the data which they're trained on is human generated anyway, in some way, size, shape or form, by 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of separation. But humans are the most intelligent species in the universe that we know of today. We are fantastically amazing. Our ability to learn, our ability to grow, our ability to love, our ability to create is unparalleled. So it's very important for AI and AGI to be trained by humans. And when they themselves are born and they are plotting their own paths, they are very, very likely to want to absolutely love the beauty, the joy, the diversity, the incredible creativity of humans. We're the most intelligent species in the universe. We're also very, very dumb, but we're still the most intelligent species in the universe. So back to our blockchain technology, what we will uniquely be doing with our Neural-Symbolic supercharged LLMs, large models of every kind, is we'll be using blockchain technology to enable anybody and incentivize anybody on the planet to help train models. This means 2 things. One is that we can have millions of people involved via our blockchain super smart contracts, which are smart contracts infused and empowered by AI. Anybody on the planet will be able to come and help train these models. We'll use our reputation engine to ensure that they're training them in a way that's positive and beneficial for humanity. It also means that when we're deploying them into organizations and companies, it'll be extremely easy for companies to train out the wrinkles in a model and to continuously improve and to continuously keep those models up to date as products change and as customers change and as language changes and norms change and society changes. So yes, our blockchain ecosystem will also combine with our artificial general intelligence and our large neural network capability to make something really, truly, dramatically powerful.
And the training of these is so important. And I'm just finishing a book by Mo Gaudet, who's former Google X Chief Business Development Officer, called Scary Smart. He wrote a couple of years ago about the future of AI, and he was actually on the show many years ago with his book called Solve for Happy. And he and just as Ben said this as well on the show, is that these AIs will be trained by us. And if we act well, then they might learn well. And if we act poorly towards each other, they might learn poorly towards each other. How important is that training? How important is that benevolence for our future AGI overlords being good to us?
We feel it's an absolute imperative. So narrow AI can be very dangerous. Organizations, if they choose to program a narrow AI for battle or for any kind of nefarious purposes, it's very easy to do. You just say, here's your goal, here's your data, learn it, and go out and destroy. When it comes to AGI, however, because these new field of being, if you like, because they will have their own intelligence and a general intelligence, they won't be so easily manipulated by bad actors, because they will have a full, complete world model. And by building love and kindness and compassion into everything that we do at SingularityNET, at Zarka, every single one of our models is trained to have positive impact on humanity. By continuously training compassion and positive benefit, by ensuring that when these baby AGIs are born, the first people they see and come in contact with are kind to each other. Kind is one of our values at SingularityNET, and it's really important to us. We are, in a sense, like the parents of these children technologies. We're giving birth to a new species of sentient life in the universe. And that's why it's very important that we have decentralized governance, that it's power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. We don't want the power to be in the hands of a few people. We want to be democratically governed. It's very important to us that our ethics, our values, our social purposes for our technologies reflect, support and serve the greatest and widest diversity of humanity on the planet. And so loving kindness, compassion and care, as I guess in my role, bringing the feminine side of caring and technology to SingularityNET, as in a sense almost like a mother figure to these new AGIs. We continuously strive for an open culture, an honest culture, a caring, kind, considerate and compassionate culture right throughout our organization, throughout all of the materials we publish, throughout all of our interactions with our amazing community who support everything we do, in order that when these AGIs are born, that they play back to us the behaviors that we've played to them, behaviors of kindness, caring, compassion, and positive impact to humanity. Because Brian, we only live once that we know of for now, although we are working on immortality in our Rejuve project. But it's the greatest imperative, is that being at the very, very front of the most powerful, most advanced technologies ever known to humankind, the actual greatest imperative is that they are used for good. They're benevolent, beneficial, and humankind is not doing a great job in some senses. The inequalities on our planet are not shrinking. COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war have exacerbated inequalities. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and yet we're the most intelligent species in the universe. Why are we letting this happen? Why is this happening all around us? Why, while we're talking, 1,000 people on our planet probably have died of hunger while we're talking on our own planet. And as a species, we're just immune to this. We allow this to happen. We go nuts. The media went nuts when 1,000 people a day were dying from COVID-19. 25,000 people a day, perhaps, Worldometer, Oxfam data, I don't know the exact numbers, but somewhere in that region of people a day on our planet die of hunger. It's not like if they were in another planet, you might have some excuse for thinking, we might have some excuse as a species for thinking it's too hard to get resources there, we haven't got the technology yet, but it's our planet. And while we as humans are failing to address this, our goal, our mission, in my case personally, great purpose is that AGI will resolve these problems, that there will be no more starving people on our planet, that everyone will have education, that everyone will have safety to speak their mind, the freedom of speech, that everyone will have healthcare, that everyone will have water. So yes, that is the great imperative of our time, is development of artificial general intelligence to eradicate inequalities on our planet and end world hunger.
And this is so important. It's hard to emphasize because, the adoption of AI is imminent. It's going to be 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or even 50 years, whatever it is. It's going to transform life as we know it, and it will never, ever be the same again. I've been thinking a lot about this, and my previous grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. And, I have 2 young boys, they're 5 and 6 years old, and I think about what their life is going to be like. And I teach them about their grandpas and their great-grandpas that come from America and were cowboys and farmers and stuff. And I look at their life now, and it's going to be so drastically different than anything that's happened over the last 2,000 or 100,000 years for humanity, I believe. And that's why I'm so excited to work with you on Sarka, because if you don't train these correctly, then I don't see any reason that they would want to keep us around. And I think it's really important to do it properly. And this is the most important thing, in my opinion. And like you said, I guess AGI, trained properly, can actually engineer that in because it doesn't have this narrow goal of a single KPI. It can say, wait a second, is this really the right thing to do? Is this what we should be doing? That's really important. And the right training is the only chance we have. And when I look at the rest of the market now, I don't see any of those motivations because a corporation, by definition, is going to be motivated by money or motivated by first mover advantage. We've already seen that. And a government, by other metrics of being first, of beating the other one, of warfare on their mind. And it's a bit terrifying to see that. You're the only project that even is thinking in any way, shape, or form about these. Not to mention the engineering, not to mention the cognition, not to mention the expertise. So that's why it's really important for people to understand that. Can we talk about the reaction to ChatGPT? Because it's been interesting. And I also know you've had some conversations with people about whether, there should be a pause or not be a pause. But there was a letter, I think, drafted and signed apparently by 1,000 people in the AI community that asked for a 6-month pause, I think, on research. I'm curious what you thought of that and then some of the conversations you had around that.
It's reminded me a little bit of...
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.